Hi there, I'm Hayo. It's nice to be with you once again. And what we're discussing is quite interesting today. And I had not first or second. I had like maybe seventh thought about this. Not because I do not want to discuss it, but because I I consider that this may be some very sensitive subject for a lot of people, and that people may not want to objectively consider this. I mean, like there's already plenty of bias, gender bias all over the place, and I think that is totally a reflection of um, of what's happening, across boards in every area. I mean, I'm talking about this present generation, our generation, the millennials and the Gen Zs and all of that. I mean, it's cut across disposition to work, it's cut across disposition to relationships, it's cut across to disposition to family. I mean, it's just everything. And I think that eventually some of us may have to maybe perform what you call a gatekeeping role, or most appropriately a value bank. All right, and I think that the challenge here is not the absence of wisdom, is the acceptance of wisdom. And in my own mind, I reckon that some things have serious mass appeal, and then if you're dealing with things that have serious mass appeal, it's usually an uphill task for a value bank or for a gatekeeper. If there's a particular wisdom that's been available for 10 years, it's going to be quite funny to say that a wisdom that is available for 5 years is better than one that is available for 100 years. So times change, but over the expanse of the changes in time, the human nature has remained constant. So as long as human nature remains constant, the only thing that you can have is the magnification, of the nature. It is to say, for example, amplification of a certain nature of a person. For example, if a person was greedy, you may not know if the person was poor and has limited resources or power. But once the person now has money and some level of resources, then you can see the greed manifest bigger. Now, if you see somebody whose greed is bigger than the other person, you may think that this other person is more greedy than this other person, whereas it is just a simple it's just simply that this other person has had resources with which his greed can be amplified, and this person has not yet been able to lay his hands on resources that will amplify his greed. What's my point? My point is, when you start to live life, you have to be able to come to terms with what is important. All right. If you fail in your analysis or your judgment or your discernment of what is important, then you may just fail in everything. And then you can come up with, no, it's what's important to me, different from what is important to other people. I can say exactly what is important to me, and I don't expect you to understand. But because I am me and I am myself and I have a self identity, and all whatever way to say to explain how glorified you are yourself, then you can defend why your ideals just has to be respected. Oh yes. Now, but I have to give you an example, or I have to make this clear so that you can understand that there's a limit to self, vis-a-vis what makes up the universe or what makes up the universal existence. So let's assume that you decide to say, look, I myself, I have no respect for time. I just want to do what I want to do. It does not matter. I'm not growing old. I'm not growing young. I'm just here. That would be blatantly stupid. Because no matter what regard you have for yourself, no matter what delusion of grandeur that you may be, going through, the truth and the fact remains that time is going and everything is aging. So, as you talk about yourself, it would not be wise to have no regard for time. Exactly. So, no matter what it is, no matter how you identify yourself, you must regard time because, in fact, the whole essence of your life is expressed over time. Very good. Now, the other thing that everybody must have regard for is family. Now, people can discountenance this and people can have several trauma responses, to different institutions of our existence or different institutions of our society. But when push comes to shove and you go back to the nitty-gritty of who we are, one of the things that you will see is that man is formed from a unit of father and mother. You can bend nature, you can apply science, you can do everything. As far as it's been, people have been generating electricity and power from different sources. All right, but the point is that as it is now, it is still impossible for man to remove the sun in the equation of the Earth's ecosystem. You can't remove the sun. You cannot remove the sun. That's exactly how it is. No matter what, when a person is given birth to, the person has a need for a mother. The person has a need for a father. Nothing will change that need. Nothing. It's just the way it is. And so when you find principles that will always exist, wisdom is to abide and apply within the principles in such a way that the principles serve you other than the principles working against you. Now, since we're talking about family, then it's important to understand that the first unit of family is the husband and the wife, who, when there's an introduction of another person in the scope of a child, then that person who is husband becomes a father, the person who is a wife becomes a mother. All right? I am not going to be going out of this scope, all right? Because the idea of progress is to simplify things, not to complicate things. So I am not going to go into complications. We are going to stay with husband and wife. And the reason I'm creating this, or the reason I'm having this discussion, is that there are certain things that are beginning to happen, and I noticed that there are a lot of people who are caught between knowing what is right, and doing it, and then knowing what is trending and doing what is trending. The terrible things about trends, for example, is that sometimes it takes 30, 20, it takes 40 years for you to see the repercussion of the things that you did all along. Now, if you are doing something for straight 5 years and you won't see the repercussion of the 20 years, it means that by the time you are seeing the consequences, it's difficult, it's impossible to go back to correct those things. Which means that you just must get it right now, because you're not going to be able to do anything to correct it when you finally see the result of the things that you are doing now. So it's important to get it right. And I have this idea to talk about these terms in ways that are funny, relatable, and stuff like that. So that's why I came up with why a man should never say, "I am the man in this house." Now I remember that. I have, people will say this. People say, if a man ever asks to say, "I'm the man in this house," that means he's not the man in the house. And I remember growing up and arguing with the concept that, look, if he's the man, maybe sometimes you say he's a man. And I've spent time listening to people, interviewing people, people who are married, men, and women who are married. I spent time with them, interviewing them, I've spent time observing, and I have realized that the people who say a man should not say so, they're right. And then the people who say that a man should say so are also right. I think that the most important demarcation in the two school of thought, and the balance is that it is not whether it is said, it is the function of who hears it. All right. So a man can say it, but he must not say it to anyone other than himself. Yes. Because for the truth of the matter is that he is the only one. He is the only one who needs to know, or is the only one who needs to be reminded. The chances are that the wife knows that you are the man. In fact, there's every chance that she married you for several reasons. It can't be just the giddy feelings that you give in her head. No, instinctively she consigns to marry you because you not only look or proven that you can provide, that is, make available provision, you have probably also proven that you can protect. And then finally, you have proven that you can bear the burden of leadership. The burden of leadership is simply knowing what to do, even when other people don't agree with you, and having the will to make other people follow you in the sphere of where you are leading towards achieving the goal of that thing that you know is right and should be done. So the burden of leadership is being able to go forward despite naysayers who are followers. So the burden of leadership is being able to see what other people cannot see, and then being able to get the people to strive towards what you can see and they can see, and then knowing that at the end of the day they'll come back to thank you for it and say, oh wow, we didn't even know that, and being ready for the fact that they don't even learn. For example, if you have pushed some people to say, I saw something, this I should be done, and they didn't see it and they didn't want to follow you, but you made them follow you, and then you got to the destination and they were like, wow, oh, thank God you made us do it because we didn't even see it. You would have thought that they should be able to learn from that experience and then give you buffer for the next experiences, or for the next similar experiences where you would have seen something and they wouldn't have seen it. To expect that even if you've been proven right, they still will not learn, because when the other things arise, they still would defer to what they cannot see than to what you can see. All right, so this is the cruise, this is the body of the. So when a wife or a woman settles to marry you as a man, she already knows, she already feels, she already thinks that you are capable, all right, that you can do all of those things, that you can provide, that you can protect. And then in the basal animalistic instinct, if he is to say that she has deferred and given herself to you because she believes that you are let me find the right word, worthy. That you're worthy to keep her from herself, and then that instinctively you will guarantee that our progeny, that our children will be strong, the same concept of survival of the fittest. So I don't know if you there's a book from where I come from Professor Wole Soyinka, and it was a play, and it was called The Lion and the Jewel, and it was the story of a king who wanted to go after a young damsel, and then there was also another man, a younger man, who also wanted the same damsel, and then the king was one that was called the lion, and then the jewel was the lady that both men wanted, and then there was no particular description, illogical or euphorical description for the other guy. Apparently, it was just, as far as that play was concerned, and nobody who wanted the girl did eventually get the girl. It was the lion that got the girl. The jewel, yes. I swear. What's my point? My point is, women would naturally respond instinctively to strength. Good. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So that is the knowledge. The knowledge is that the woman knows that you are the man. Now, you think you are the man. Now, it gets interesting because as it goes, as the union is, integrated, document signed, and all of that, even in relationship, even pre-marriage, one of the things that you will see, or that a man would experience without knowing he's experiencing, is test. The woman will continually test you. I mean, she doesn't particularly even know she's testing you. It's just pure instinct. and I find this interesting. I find this interesting that most people don't see or don't know that this happens. And it happens. In fact, it will happen. It will happen all your life. She will test your patience, she will test your strength, she will test your fortitude, she will test your resolve, she will test your vision, she will test your leadership, she will test virtually everything that you have promised to give to her. Provision, she will test your strength of provision, she will test your judgment on provision, she will test your capacity to create more, she will test your resolve, she will test your ability to protect her from herself. She will test whether you are malleable, because if you are malleable, then you have no strength. and if you speak with women, one of the things that you are going to realize is that they're going to tell you that the thing that they hate most about you is also the thing that they love most about you. And what it is that a man must know. A man must know and understand that he is being tested. A man must also pass this test. And I've realized that the only way for men to pass this test is for the man to have been built. That is, built in capacity and then built in knowledge. Built in capacity and then built in knowledge. Capacity means that you can always grow, you can always evolve, you can always achieve more. These things cannot be achieved except you've had certain knowledge. Knowledge of knowledge with emotional intelligence, knowledge with the way life works, knowledge with the way things work, knowledge with the differences between a woman and a man, knowledge with how to further the development of the family, knowledge as to how critical you are to your family. And this will come to bear, first of all, the way a man can pass the test, the first way to guarantee that a man pass the test is to make the right choice at the beginning to marry or date or go out with the right woman. Which means that before the contract, before you guys become spouses and things, that's when you run your test. So you should only be with somebody who passes the test, because once your own test ends and you agree that she is the one, then our own test starts. That is, our own test for you starts. So you begin to face your own test after she has faced ours from you. So it is this understanding that prepares a man, capacity-wise, knowledge-wise. Because without this, you are likely to fail as a man. And failure in marriage is very cruel and violent to a man, which means that you want to make sure that you do not fail. All right. So, I've thought about this a lot, and I do not want to overly exhaust this. You have to subscribe to my channel, you have to like, and you have to comment, respond with pertinent issues that you think you want me to address on this subject. But I necessarily don't want this session to be quite long. All right, so we may have to do maybe more series later. For example, we maybe explain how a woman tests a man and how a man must pass, so maybe we can do that, so you can have a whole series on it and explain the type of test, and but I do not want to spend too much time on this. All right, so when a man understands that he's going to be tested and understand what the test looks like and understand how to pass, what a man must resolve in his mind is that a man has innate authority. The reason you are tested, or you're going to be tested, is to say, do you understand your authority and how to use it? Do you understand your authority and how to use it? That is why when they say that a man should not say, I'm the man in this house, is because when a man says, I'm the man in this house, what he is telling his wife is that I am no longer sure I have authority. Now, you would think that instinctively a wise woman would say, oh, my husband, sit down. Please, you have authority. And it's important for a man, for example, a woman, for example, to be able to be wise enough to say that. Because if your man feels and loses authority, your authority does not come to you as the woman. You can think that it comes to you. The authority simply disappears from family unit, and then family units disintegrate. That is why statistics have revealed that criminals and suicidals and drug addicts usually have their largest content come from families where there was no father or no father figure. I mean, did you see that something as important, something as almost not important as the presence of a father, that people have discontinued over years, and they're forming work and saying, no, you don't need a man, you don't need a man. You don't need a man, you don't need a man. As statistics over years has come to show that the absence of a father in the life of the children will create a vacuum of lack of structure, which makes the child or the children to lack strength and character, so that they are not malleable to the winds and the negative forces of their environment. So it is the man that provides the spine, the structure, the character for the children, while the woman can provide nurture. But nurture is never enough, will never be enough. It's just the way they are. You will be wise to understand the way things are. So instinctively, you think that a woman should be able to just say, oh, my husband, sit down. Look, you have the authority. No. What happens is that the woman panics. She panics, and when she panics, she misbehaves. And then when she misbehaves, she further tests you. and then a man who does not know so much will continue to say, I am the man in this house. Further causing panic. Causing more panic in the wake of the statement. Now, yes, he may feel the need to say it, but he must understand that he is the one who needs to hear it. So it is supposedly supposed to be in the confinement or the secrecy of your solitude that you as a man should say, I am the man in this house. Basically reminding yourself that you have the authority, and then reminding yourself or waking yourself up to learning or quickly adapting to how to retain the authority. Now, here's the thing about authority, okay? Here's the thing about authority. If you've seen men of authority, it is not by noise, okay? It is not by noise. It is simply not by noise. Yes, there might be bouts of anger where a person says, where a person shouts, a person gets angry, but it has to be anger at situations or anger at yourself. But when it comes down to it, authority is not a noisemaker. Authority is simply there. Authority is simply, sometimes, mostly innate. It's simply there. Alright? And you must exude the presence of the authority, which basically means that you carry an air as a man around yourself that I am the spine and the structure of this whole thing. Simple. And then you now live up to that, but I mean, that's what it is. So, for example, a lion. I'm sure you've watched. I'm sure you watched Lion King series and movies and like that. There's always a time when Simba is trying to learn how to roar. All right. Now, Simba wants to learn how to roar because lions roar. So it is already innate that lions roar. It should be totally off place for a leopard or a cheetah to want to roar. So whereas a cheater can decide to say, I want to learn how to roar, but it will be totally out of place. So my point here is that the authority is already innate inside you. You may want to learn how to use it. Alright? You may want to learn how to use it, but you must understand that it is first there. So being at home with the fact that it's there and then you learn to apply something that you have is the way to go. But not knowing it's there and wanting to learn about something that you don't have is totally going to cause conflict within yourself as the man. So, a man must understand that his authority must be used to plan and then must be used to provide direction. The authority must be used to plan and be used to provide direction. Now, the marketing of the authority is a totally different ballgame entirely. For example, depending on your woman, sometimes you want for this woke generation, you can say a man doesn't like to be ordered around and things like that. So some men may learn how to sell the authority to their woman, but I think that if you have to sell your authority all the time, you may have made a terrible choice of a woman. All right, you want to present and explain. Sometimes you want to say, you simply have to trust me on this. Because let me tell you, wise women know that even if their husbands were making mistakes, what they should do is to support their husband in the mistake. Because eventually the man will come and realize that it's a mistake and then retrace how he made the mistake. And then if he were ever going to make another decision again, he will be cautious this time to ask you, what do you think? So, but if you undermine him at your first instance or at the first time that you shouldn't have, then you put him in a position where he wants to prove to himself and to you, therefore not needing to feel as if he's smaller than he is in your eyes. Which therefore means that he simply wants to bulldoze his way with every other thing. That's not the way you want your family to look like. So, a man must understand how to use his authority. And once again, I didn't want to go so much into this because it's going to take so long. But what you must take away from here is that your authority is to provide. Your authority is to keep the family within progressions of plans of provision. For example, if you have, say, $1,000 a day, your leadership says spend $200 so you can have $800 invested into your future. The woman wants and desires and the need to be trendy and to look successful can say, why don't we spend $900? Now you may think that not all women do that, but because sometimes the man already gives an air of I can provide. Whereas wisdom is to say that you will not always be young, so your productive young years are supposed to be your planting season so that you have plenty of harvest. The woman will eventually, in 30 years' time, appreciate what you have done, but at the time when you are saying, look, we will only spend $200 and save $1,000 and save $800, may not be palatable, but you still have to be able to use your authority to provide direction, leadership, and long-term provision plan for your family. Just for example, that's one way in which your authority is used. One other way that your authority is used it's in the discipline and the guidance of the children. You will not do this, this is what you will do, and so on and so forth. And then, because as you do that, using your authority that way, what you are instilling is discipline and character in your children, which they will need to become useful contributions to the society. So, I'm sure you already get an hang of what I mean by the use of your authority. Alright. Now let's talk about the possible outcomes, because when I say this, I'm probably making it sound so interesting, so easy. I mean, it's just two things and things like that. Okay, every leader is a marketer of hope. Every leader is a marketer of hope because the whole point of leadership is because a particular set of people, a particular institution is not yet where it should be or not yet where they want to be. So it is somebody who will take them to where they should be, and that person is a leader. Now, if they were already where they should be, then there's no need for a leader. So if there was ever a leader somewhere is because the present condition is not favorable, and the set of people or organization or a unit or a community must move from that unfavorable condition to a more favorable condition or a desired condition. That is the reason for the leader. All right, so good. Now, if you are the leader, either by fate or by chance or by design, in a particular place, there are possible outcomes depending on who you are. So I started this by saying that you are supposed to be a marketer of hope. You are supposed to sell the idea of favorable condition, so that they look forward to it and then act towards achieving it. Okay, so this is important to understand. But even when you have understood that, there are still at least 2 possible outcomes. For example, this can disintegrate. All right. Now, I said this, and I've mentioned this in the course of this session, that what the woman must do is that the woman must understand that when your man, depending on the type of man, says, "I'm the man in this house," he is not trying. It's mostly a cry for help. This is how a man cries for help. Oh. To say, "You are testing me too much, you have to have faith." That's what the man is saying to the woman. What the woman must do is that a woman must understand what this is for what it is. That this is the man's cry for help. To say, "You're testing me too much, please align and let me lead this family." A wise woman will say, "Okay, please sit down, my husband. I'm sorry if my feminine tendencies have been putting you to too much rigors of test. Right now, I voluntarily, intentionally tell you that yes, you are the man. And I have never forgotten. You may not need to tell me again. I understand that you may need to know it, but help me also to help you by making sure that you don't necessarily say this to me. You may say to yourself and then get yourself, for example, if you're a Christian, several times Jesus has said to himself, "I'm the resurrection and the life." There's certain faculty inside of himself that needs to be reminded. Exactly. So sometimes a man needs to be reminded that he is a man, and then most times they're not going to do that reminder or reminding for him except himself. Now, the mistake is that sometimes, as he's reminding himself, he thinks that he needs to remind other people. No. You are the one who needs to be reminded so that you can act accordingly or find insight or wisdom or fortitude or strength of character to display or manifest the fact that you are a man. All right, so one possible outcome is that as you use your authority, things align. The other possible outcome is that as you use your authority, things further disintegrate. Maybe we should rest, knowing that if you use your authority and things disintegrate, it wasn't going to hold anyways. So it is not your fault that you used the authority and then things disintegrated, because everywhere that things worked, it's because the sacrifice and the authority of the man were intact. Usually, what happens now is that women, and these are the type of women that you have to be careful with. And if you're watching this as a woman, I really hope that you're not that type of a woman. Now, but what you see now is that women want the sacrifice of the man, but not the authority of the man, because the world system is programming women to discountenance man, saying, what's he doing? You can do what he's doing. You can even do it better. You cannot. A woman cannot do what a man should do. A man cannot do what a woman should do. It's as simple as that. This is the basic fundamental wisdom that most people have lost, and if you lose this wisdom, you lose everything. And it will take you years to realize the consequences of that action or that supposed wokeness. Alright, so I just wanted to make that clear. Alright, so thank you so much. I really desire the best outcome for you, but whatever it is better that your sacrifices and your authority are intact. If it disintegrates, you probably made a mistake with your choice, or it will reintegrate later. So thank you so much. I had an amazing time with you guys. Let me know what you think about the session. If there's any other pertinent issues that you'd like me to explain or that you'd like me to share my thoughts on, please drop them in the comments. Please don't forget to like, and also please share with your friends. Thank you so much. I remain Ayo. I'll see you soon. And if you're wondering if finances come to play, if there's a role, a man's capacity to, to make wealth, if it comes to play in his authority, it does. It does. Your authority goes hand in hand with your ability to provide. All right. So that is why I have series of solutions, financial solutions that helps men and women, to make money. So you could go to oloyola70.com, and then you'll see a lot of help there concerning finances. And in case you're wondering if you're going to get there and have to buy a course or have to buy a subscription, yes. However, we have made it better than free. It means that for every subscription that you bought, the money is credited back to you as long as you commit. And we know that one of the ways that you're going to commit is if you pay for a thing. All right, people don't fancy or value free things. All right, and in fact, there's no free thing. Even the fact that it gets to you without cost does not mean it did not cost the people who made it. All right. So yes, so please go to oloyola70.com and see what things I have ready made for you to help you make your life better, whether you're a man or a woman. Thank you so much. Bye.